part of my reason why, so going back to that, I think is that I wanted to be another door open. Like I think more presses, more power, because the traditional press is great. Traditional publishing was at one time an indie press. Like they all kind of started small in some ways. Like I think I'm trying to Bloomsbury, Bloomsbury was Virginia Woolf, her friends, and they were like in a house in England, in London. And that like what Bloomsbury is today is far bigger than what it started out, but it was just very indie press. And now it has the moniker that has carried on through generations since Virginia Woolf. But like all of these publishing companies kind of started somewhere. I mean, Charles Dickens, he published a Christmas Story himself because they wouldn't take a chance on it. And that was his best-selling book. And, so self-publishing right there. So any author that thinks they want to do self-publishing, go for it. Like if you got the ability to do it, but still work alongside people. But for me, can I be another door open to somebody that maybe doesn't get to the traditional side? Maybe they don't have the capacity or the full understanding to do the self-publishing side. Can I walk alongside somebody that otherwise would not get their story made? Or they get it made, but it stays on the shelf and never really goes anywhere because maybe they can't do the marketing, maybe they can't do the PR or whatever it will take. So that was kind of like my motivation, because when I was working with like these young students just for free, like just helping them to help them, it was a privilege to just see how much they wanted to tell a story and how much they needed just that encouragement and somebody to walk alongside them. And so it's a little bit different for me today because it is like it's a financial decision. I have to make things that not just benefit the author, but it's a co-benefit to both of us. Like we're going to take a chance on each other, but it is the opportunity to be one more door. And I say to anybody who's considering being a press, be a door open yourself. Like look at yourself and can you offer an opportunity? Because that's kind of where I got to, is like, I just wanted to be an opportunity for somebody else and maybe for myself, but that's kind of like and I do think there are small presses that have opened up to, self-publish, but they become a publishing arm, and then they are publishing their stuff, but that's less my goal. My goal is really, I have open submissions currently until the 30th of this month. And I've already had some amazing manuscripts, which I can't really, talk about what they are, but great writers have, it's such a privilege like that they've taken a chance with me to share their work. And so I'm still reading those and I still am getting a few till the end of the month. So I am looking forward to, because I think, in the next couple of months after, when we can make some decisions, that there will be some good books that I can be a part of the process to get them on the shelves and get them into the armchairs of every reader everywhere.
I like that. They're back to your who, right?
Yes.
The person sitting there in the armchair, it's little tea or coffee, and they're going into another world, or they're
100%.
reading something. What are the different benefits to your services? Are you and how is self-publishing different than going through a publisher? What are the pros and cons?
Yeah, I think self-publishing is a great ownership of your story. And so it gives you a lot of say in the process. I think it can be overwhelming because the process and the expense that ties to self-publishing is a very real barrier to a lot of people, because one, you've spent years, maybe even months, but also years to write your story. And then the work of publishing looks very different than writing. It's a different skill to have. And so if you're kind of new to it, it could be daunting, but I think it's a great option for somebody that really wants to hold the control, hold all of the financial relationship to the story and the ownership rights and all of that. I think it could be great. And if you have the time to research and dive into it, I think that's a great option. For a small press is very much like a traditional press. I think it's the indie press is very varied, but what's brilliant about them is I think they can have niches and they are less interested in bottom lines. So their ability to take on nuanced writers that maybe don't fit into traditional publishing streamlines, like the rom-com streamline, YA streamline, fantasy streamline. There's all these
Sparkly
streamline
vampires.
genres. Yeah, exactly. And they have a system for their bottom line. So they know what works, and they have top level authors, that are producing great work, and they can churn on those pretty easy and make their bottom dollar. And then they sometimes can, and there's a lot of like larger traditional presses that have like small publishing arms off of them that can take some niched and nuanced work. But indie presses are varied, and yet they tend to be very audience specific. So like one friend, so one of the things I offer will be consulting, but I don't offer it during open submissions because I want to put my focus on the writers who've already submitted their work.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, consultation could be just helping people in the process of their story, whether, it's not a guarantee of publishing with me, but it's just helping you get your story ready for wherever you want to go with it.
Yeah.
So that'll be one side. And then I'll have a collaboration aspect that I'm working out. But the collaboration aspect is for probably working with like self-published authors or authors who have had books, and finding a way to use the press to be another outlet for them. So maybe they've published their work already and self-publishing was the way they wanted to go. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at ways of collaborating with them to get their book in front of more of an audience, and using King Ari Press to benefit them, and then find a way that we can kind of work together in that. So there will be a collaboration point too with other authors who are mostly already published. So there's a lot of opportunities here. My biggest thing is right now just finding a couple authors that I can say yes to, mm-hmm. and getting their work out. And that's what an indie press can do, is they can take chances where traditional publishing has the bottom line. Self-publishing is really just maybe, and I think self-publishing is also because you don't know that your book is going to work and you're afraid to submit it. You have that insecurity of like, and because you shoot for the moon and it's traditional press, and they have a very small acceptance rate and even success rate, to be honest. I think 1% of all traditional published books are above their profit mark. So in other words, like there's a profit margin, and out of all of the books that they may publish, there's only 1% that are in that success range. Mm-hmm. So even traditional publishing accepts a lot of books that maybe don't produce.
And those are the books you see numbers. Kind of at Books A Million, and they might be sitting there a while, or they're in the bargain bin. But then they get that one J.K. Rowling, but it's that makes their whole buck right there.
Exactly, and so that's the other thing is, so when you take a chance on somebody, like for instance, if you take a chance on whether it's a traditional publishing, if you just like that book and you buy that book, the money that goes to that book is going to the next author. It's making like for me, if somebody bought a book that we published, that money goes to the next author. It makes another opportunity for another yes. And so like that, like the building, and traditional publishing is the same. So like James Patterson, mm-hmm. all of his success is making it possible for them to sometimes take chances on authors that maybe they wouldn't, but that they like. But they don't, they don't know what the success ratio of that book is going to be. Mm-hmm. But at least the money that's coming in from his books make it possible for that one to possibly get a chance where it otherwise wouldn't. So that's where their bottom line can help them, is if they have these high profits for a season of really successful authors, that'll make it an opportunity for another author to get in where they may not have. So that's always good.
Always remember, you are not alone. Catch full episodes every Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern 9 a.m. Pacific.